Good morning. How are you?
All right. Good morning, everyone. It's Ron. It is Saturday morning. Looks like a pretty day out. I have not been out yet, but looks nice and sunny and pretty outside. The last time we met was on Monday, and we talked from Matthew chapter 18. We were looking at the scripture. Evelyn had said something about children, and I think last couple of weeks we had something came up about children that made me think about those verses, and we went back and looked at those, and knowing not only what it means to be humble, but be submissive and to be vulnerable, and to be both sides of that, not just make yourself into the little child, but be the protector of the child as well. And the unity of that, meaning if we can see ourselves and understand both sides of that, we understand the road and the role that we have ahead of us as far as what is taking place, not only in America, but globally. That responsibility that we have for being enlightenment and being a positive influence, you know, as we walk through this thing. But any questions on that or anything that you may have run across this week? Nothing. I have a video that Pastor sent me that I hope you can hear. I want you to hear this, and then I want to take you to some scripture and let's look at something, and then I want to discuss this. Okay, if that's okay. Again, I want to start us off with a video if we have no questions. And I want you guys to hear this, and then we're going to talk about it. And let me turn this up as high as I can get it on my phone.
It's been fundamental to the global prosperity of the advanced countries. Okay, and Africa had a role to play. It has a role as a raw material producer. We will not allow sub-Saharan Africa to escape that. Okay, we do everything to keep sub-Saharan Africa where it is, also impoverished. It's absolutely vital for the prosperity of everyone else. So let's get clear about that. Okay, and this means all the economic structures, all the global institutions, and the economics we teach everyone is all designed to keep Africa exactly where it is. And whether it is Europe or US or now China, it's always the same. We need Africa to be impoverished because we need those raw materials and we need them dirt cheap.
Okay, did you guys hear that?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
Now, whatever feelings or emotions you have, that's normal. And wouldn't dare ask you to squash it or to try to move that out of the way. That's the natural way to feel about that. You feel shock for one thing, maybe even a little anger, a little hurt. It also even brings about the feeling of like, damn, and nothing's gonna ever change, you know. But
Ron,
yes, ma'am.
who was that, and what's the context?
Oh, shoot. Good question, Audrey. I did not this was at some global conference, and I did not catch his name. And I apologize for that. He never really says his name, and I should have asked Pastor where he got this from. And he'll be on shortly, and we'll open that up a little bit. I apologize for that. That's something I should have had for us. I should have set that up a little better than that. But when I heard the context, it kind of shocked me, and but only briefly. It didn't take me to the place that it normally does. and stuff like that does. So and that's the part I want to talk about. And like I said, Pastor will be on shortly, at least I hope so. That's his intent anyway.
It just seems to me that he just said the thing out loud that
Yeah.
we've known all along.
Yes, yes, yes. But I think it opens the door, Audrey. That's my point. Yeah, here's what I'm saying. I think I'm going to ask you in a minute to go with me to Genesis chapter 41. Genesis chapter 41, I want to show you something. But I think that last week or 2 weeks ago, however long it was, when Pastor and S gave us their dreams, that meant something. I think that was a portal. And when what made us walk through the portal, I think everybody that heard those dreams, took ownership of them. We became one. You took ownership of it without even giving thought to it. You started talking about it without giving thought to it, what you saw in that. And that to me is what opens this whole thing up. So recognizing who you are, that's who you are all the time, not just when those dreams took place. Excuse me. I'm gonna read something for you. I'm in Genesis chapter 41, and this is when Joseph's brothers sold him, and he is in prison, and he interprets the dreams. And I'm not going to go all the way back to chapter 40. I'm just trying to make a point, but please feel free if you have any questions or something to elaborate on, please feel free to do so, okay? Then the chief cupbearer spoke to Pharaoh and said, I would make mention today of my own offenses. Pharaoh was furious with his servants, and he put me in a confinement in the house of the captains of the bodyguard, both me and the chief baker. We had a dream on the same night, he and I. Each of us dreamed according to the interpretation of his own dream. Now, a Hebrew youth was in there, a servant of the captains of the bodyguard, and we related them to him, and he interpreted our dreams for us. To each one he interpreted according to his own dream. And just as he interpreted for us, so it happened. He restored me in my office, but he hanged him. In other words, the other guy dream meant something destructive. So what am I saying? The word Joseph here means to bring increase. To bring increase. We are being increased. Our awareness is being increased. Our knowledge of self is being increased. We are walking into something, or it means not only to increase, but to add continuously. To continuously add something to it till it just exceedingly running over. To keep adding, keep adding, keep adding. That's what Joseph means. Interpretation talks about to open something up, to make it plain, to reveal it. So what am I saying? The sages talked about the rights of a righteous man to make interpretations. When we opened up those dreams, we walked into a different place. And by walking into a different place, you have the right now, because of your truth, because of your desire, because of this path that we're on, this is showing us who and where we are. And what I want to do, I want to play that video again. I want us to hear those things. I know the feelings and emotions are there, but we've had a few minutes to get over that. I want to play it again, and I want you to tell me what you hear and what you see in what is being said. Take ownership of it. You have ownership of the universe. There is nothing or no one to override truth. So when we pull all this together, when we talk about all these things we've talked about, when we talk about even the little children, when we talked about it, the dreams, when we talked about I can't remember all this. All that is building us and bringing us to this point. So I want to play that one more time, and you guys tell me. And again, I apologize. I don't know who this guy is.
Fundamental to the global prosperity of the advanced countries. Okay, and Africa had a role to play. It has a role as a raw material producer. We will not allow sub-Saharan Africa to escape that. Okay, we do everything to keep sub-Saharan Africa where it is, also impoverished. It's absolutely vital for the prosperity of everyone. So let's get clear about that. Okay, and this means all the economic structures, all the global institutions, and the economics we teach everyone is.
Okay. Okay. What did you guys hear? And I'm talking about your inner ear, from your heart. What did you hear?
I heard that after, out of the womb of Africa, the same thing we've been saying, comes everything. That out of that womb, life is given to everything.
Yes. So did I. Anyone else?
Yeah. The sort of open acknowledgement that the foundation of the majority of oppression and destruction on this planet is fueled by the suffering of others. And that foundation, if it is spoken about so plainly, must be less secure than it ever has been. Thank you.
Thank you, Nick. Although he said it in a different way, he says, as you know, has been said, he talked about how vital Africa is to survival of the earth. He talked about it from the developed countries' perspective, but it says so much more than that to me. I'll tell you something else it says to me, that it opens the door for us to see and be active in who we are. We have a right to look at this and say that the spirituality of Africa far exceeds and overrides its material possessions that you think you need to establish or continue to establish this global economy. You are right that you need Africa, but it is on a level that you do not yet recognize. And by you making this statement openly, you give the African permission, because you are the king of the earth. The African gave the European the keys up to the earth. And we you open the door for that to be reestablished. And not only do we take that now and use it for righteousness and peace and bringing about balance, we do it on the strength of what you just said. You said that we will not let Africa escape her responsibility. Those are very important words to me. Africa has no desire to escape her responsibility. But just as Nick said, not in the way that you are thinking in your mind that this will fall. This will be something far more revealing. This will be something far more beneficial to all of mankind. This will be an enlightenment on a global stage. And I just thought that as we looked and using the strength of 2 weeks ago, taking ownership without thought, those dreams, so much we take ownership of everything that is uttered that is meant for destruction. You are the righteousness in the land. We are the truth in the land. We are the enlightenment. And it is up to us to bring clarity to these things. And to do so without fear, to do so without any type of anxiety. There may be a point, like I tried to do this morning, kind of give us a pause to kind of step back and deal with how it made us feel. But the reality is, what did you hear with your inner ear? There is not a there's a part of us that is not confused or feeling the frustration, but as the little children, we are feeling the love. We are feeling the harmony, and it is no different than listening to the words of a toddler and not trying to correct him. Spiritually, this man is an infant. He is an infant, and so are those who only see the earth as a means of wealth and deny the existence of God or try to come up with their own God. They're infants, and it is time for us to walk into who we are in a more open way, I suppose.
I agree with you, Ron, that they're infants because, I mean, he is willing for millions of people to be impoverished so that his country and a few other countries can be prosperous.
Yes.
I mean, it just tells you where he is spiritually, and it's nothing, basically. They're only interested in their own material gain.
Yeah. Who are we? We see that question being asked of us every time we turn on the television, every time we see stuff like this. And I don't know when this speech was made, but I don't think it's a coincidence that we heard it now. We're hearing it now. I think that it had to be uttered boldly and arrogantly, the way that it was, so that it will come out the way that it came out. So my message, though, is to do not fear, and we breathe on this as we do everything else, and we put it in the atmosphere, just as Joseph interprets everyone's dream. That's the dream of the European. That's how he sees things, but we are the interpreters of it. and so that just kind of that just had me excited. I know it sounds a little crazy, but it does. It has me a little excited.
The when we talk about moving to a new, or the sort of spiritual foundation that Earth exists on, transitioning, it is exactly that depth of depravity that has to be brought to the surface in order for
Yeah.
it to be recognized and then dealt with. And that is pretty much the attitude that all sort of white supremacy, capitalism, and all the ways in which those two are related has, towards everything that it is not itself across the entire universe. Like, and it is that foundation of sort of chaos and foundation of ignorance and selfish confusion that produces all chaotic situations, regardless of wherever they are found in the universe. It is the willingness to worship your idea of the self, as opposed to seeking to know the true nature of the self. It is your idea of the self that is confined to your own, within your own selfish ignorance. Essentially, as we've spoken about before, you make yourself and your idea of what that is based on your essentially selfish use of intellect. You make that idea into God, and that is what you worship. So that sort of confusion fundamentally has to be dismantled in order for any sort of real refounding of the sort of fundamental understanding of the world and our relationship to each other. That has to be uprooted for anything to be reestablished or refounded where that once was. And that attitude is, it is slowly dying out, thankfully. And it is in part due, well, it's due to the generations of people that are coming into the earth who are no longer wanting to participate in it.
That's interesting, Nick. If you don't mind me stopping you right there to talk about that. That's been I was listening to a young lady. I think she was in the Seattle area, but she was talking about they're talking about women's rights and some of the laws on, might have been Arizona, one or two, but I think it was Arizona, but some of the antiquated laws out there and some of the stuff that's in the book. And she was saying that it seemed like generation after generation after generation, we keep finding all these old white men who keep supporting the same type of BS. Yeah, so you're saying that address that, because you're saying that is shrinking.
Oh yeah, it definitely is. And I was just in Arizona, funnily enough, a few weeks
Yeah.
ago. But that is where they came up with that abortion law. And
Yeah.
they were basing the law on something that like it was from a time, from some ruling or whatever that happened before Arizona was even a state, from like a long time ago.
Yeah.
And so in the same way that they're trying to go back and back and back towards a time period when they had control, or in the religious sense as well, going back and back and back to a time period when people were not willing to question religious sort of ruling. They have to keep going back and back and back. They have to keep digging up the true foundations of what it is they believe, because fewer and fewer people are willing to participate in its more it's the veneer of civility that is on top of it, and that they have been operating in for, or attempting to operate in for so long. So that foundation gets pulled up by its roots all the way back to when it came from. And I hope that I was making
Yeah,
sense.
that part is very important.
Yeah.
That's something that you can get angry about it, and you can say, you know, because it is wrong, and from the basis that you are approaching it, but they themselves, by going back, because I heard what was it, the 19th century was the law first put into place. I can't remember,
Yeah.
but you know, they themselves are going back to the grassroots of it, to reestablish it, which is very important to the spirituality of uprooting this thing. That's yeah.
And
It
I
was
think
1864.
18, okay.
and I think that is also part of their it's things like that happen. The rate of change is happening too quickly. So they are attempting to, the reason these things are getting exposed so quickly, and the nature of what is being exposed is so sort of blatant, is because of the rate of transition away from this sort of chaotic state is happening too quickly for them. So they are forced to bring up the the best that they got in terms of the true nature of what that belief is, what that worldview is, coming out of white supremacy, etc. And in so doing, they hasten the pace at which they themselves are pushed out, because our backlash to that is all the more visceral in general, in terms of humanity. So it's just the accelerating pace that they are, which they are realizing is that they are swept up in. It is the pace at which they are decaying and falling out of power is accelerating. And it will only accelerate the more they try to push more strongly those truly deep beliefs that they have, which they previously tried to keep covered up because it's too much to reveal too quickly. Like the vast majority of people, when they see this stuff, are like, that's insane. And they have no choice but to appear as insane because there's nothing left for them.
Yes.
And that trend will continue.
Excellent.
Yeah, that is why we will see whoever wins the presidency in the United States, it's going to get more chaotic. It's just the you could say the death, what did I say, the death throes, or the struggle against its own end, that this sort of foundational confusion and selfishness is attempting to put on, because it knows its time is coming to an end.
And every bit of it, Nick, if you, I think, as you say, the uprooting of things, going back to the beginning, I was listening to on CNBC, I think it was yesterday, they were replaying part of one of the recent speeches that Trump gave, and he mentioned how he supports I forget the word he used, but he supports the agenda of Martin Luther King. We embrace those, and I, you know, and the people were kind of quiet. Nobody knew how to take that, and you know, I didn't know if he did it out of mockery or if he he's trying to do it for votes. I don't know. But I just thought, you know, you say things like that, but spiritually they have a meaning and they have a message there that you in your infancy and in your uh ignorance don't understand exactly what you're saying. So I just thought that was interesting as well. It just kind of fits into what we're talking about.
See that?
Yeah, that is that veneer of civility that I mentioned. Everyone on Fox News, every conservative, you know, politician loves the state that they supported. They agree
Yeah.
with Martin Luther King. The equivalent of them back when Martin Luther King was alive was absolutely hated him, and they would absolutely hate him. It's just they have to pretend like the foundation of what they believe is not what it is, and what it is the dominance of white people over everything that is not them by any means necessary. They would probably prefer that it be nice,
Yeah.
but when push comes to shove, they don't care, because the goal is not to be nice. The goal is to sit atop the artificial hierarchy that they create and impose onto nature itself.
Thank you, sir. Anyone else? Questions or comments?
Ron and Nick, this is Vermel.
Hey, Vermel.
One of the things that I'm struggling with, and I'm hoping that maybe you could help me kind of sort it out.
Okay.
How or when was it at the beginning with Adam and Eve? Did we, if we're connected each to each other, was that when we or our European counterparts lost compassion for others? I know this sounds like a crazy question, but in my mind, I struggle with the fact that there appears, and I'm just going to say it appears,
Mm-hmm.
that there are a number of individuals, I want to say self-hating, but I'm not sure that's the thing, but can be so distant from humans, from people. So I'm struggling with the whole concept of these people don't care. They just want to be at the top. And in my mind, I think of a pyramid. If you're at the top and you're not taking care of the bottom, you are you are creating inevitably your own drowning.
Yeah.
I'm just a little lost there.
Oh, and I'm going to ask the class to address that, but I like the question because what you are describing to me anyway, you're saying that I'm at a different mindset. This doesn't even make sense in a very practical way, is what you're saying. I don't see that. My mind can't wrap my mind. I can't wrap my mind about how do I survive this way by treating others this way. You're at a different place, and that's why it looks crazy and foreign to you. But everyone else, anyone have any thoughts on what Vermel's question is, please?
I do, but I want to see if anybody else does first. Okay.
Okay.
Uh, it is insane. It is self-destructive. It cannot ultimately exist. It is inherently self-destructive to basically treat other people that way and try to put yourself at the top of that, you know, pyramid. They have to, or that mentality or mindset can't exist in and of itself. It must continuously be attempting to draw energy from, draw resources from, to sort of project its own instability outwards. That is why when that guy in the video was talking about Africa must be the place that we extract resources from and keep in a state of suffering. And whether he himself believed that or he was just talking about that fundamental philosophy. But the case, whatever the case is, to treat other people that way requires that you separate yourself from them and that you create chaos within them so that you do not have to collapse into the chaos of your own self. It is to put it in political terms, that is why a sort of fascist style political situation or circumstance, that leadership in those kinds of who ascribe to those beliefs must always have an enemy to be fighting or to be projecting outwards onto. It's the same with the sort of foundational spiritual confusion that allows you to treat other people as, you know, things to use for your own ends. It is simply, you become so wrapped up in your own egotistical pursuit of your own God, which is the one you created, as opposed to the one that exists already that you are attempting to seek. You become so wrapped up in that you lose touch completely with your capacity to have empathy, with your ability to recognize humanity. You become so isolated within your own chaotic, selfish confusion that you have no choice in your mind anyway. If you want to survive, to perpetuate that system that allows you to essentially project that chaos outwards, to create suffering in others, to avoid having to collapse into the confusion and suffering of your own self. It allows you to indulge in the material distraction as a result of that resource extraction. So you do not have to deal with the spiritual reality of of the place that you have taken yourself. It requires you to cut off parts of yourself from yourself. You cannot be empathetic or to some degree truly aware of the spiritual nature of things and still treat other people that way. You can't. It will, these things do not compute. And so you fashion for yourself an artificial bubble, an artificial reality to exist within, so that you can fully pursue your own selfish confusion. And you have to draw as many people into that artificial bubble as possible. But that bubble is popping, and that's what we're seeing. Anyway, I hope that helped. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
It did very much, both of y'all. Thank you.
Thank you for the question. I remember when I worked at a company many years ago, and they had a guy who was the CEO of the company that was kind of different as most CEOs. He was real personable, and he'd go around and talk to people. And one day I heard him ask a lady, how's your little boy? And she goes, he's better. I thought we were going to have to take him to the hospital, blank, blank, blank. She went to talk to him, and he, and that's what he'd do. He'd walk around and talk to people. And I remember one day that a new guy came in, and the new guy was over this guy. He was still the director of the company, but they brought in someone from corporate. and they put the corporate guy's office in our building. And for some reason, I felt that this was not a good thing. And it didn't take long to see what was going on. The guy who had been there all those years got to know the people and had the empathy that Nick is talking about. So they brought in somebody who didn't have empathy, who didn't know the people, and they needed to make cuts. And they wanted it to be, we're going to cut blank, blank, blank by this criteria. We're not going to do it based on feelings and relationships. Whoever gets cut gets cut. And after the guy wasn't there 6 months, he made the cuts. They sat back to see the fallout of it. They made a second round of cuts, not as severe, and then he was gone. And so he wasn't attached to anything, and he had nothing riding on it. You know, it did. There were no feelings there, and that's the mindset that I think anyway Nick is talking about. You have to set yourself in that place where you look at what I desire is more important than what my relationship are with people, or and this is more important to me. So I become desensitized to the needs and desires of others in order to achieve what I want. So unfortunately, it does happen.
Yeah, it is it's I always go back to that Charlie Chaplin I think it was the Great Dictator, but he said these are machine men with machine hearts. That is what they are. They are servants of the profit machine, the profit generation machine. And that profit generation machine is anti all living things.
Yeah. I'm sorry, Audrey, did you have a question? Okay. Many years ago, I was in elementary school. I think I was in 5th or 6th grade. I was old enough to see and understand. So, Audrey, did you have a question or comment? I'm sorry.
I think she's frozen.
Yeah.
Ron, we have some kickback from, I think, phone number ending in 748. I need them to mute, please.
Okay, would everyone make sure your phones are on mute, please? Phone number ending in 748. Would you? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay.
Mom, are you trying to say something?
Sorry, what?
Oh, you were kind of frozen a little bit.
No, I got kicked off for some reason. I got kicked off for some reason.
Okay. What I was going to say was when I was in elementary school, is everybody on mute?
Oh, Mom, we hear echo from your phone for some reason now.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you.
When I was in elementary school, they used to bring people in to speak to us, uh, which is a which was
Mom, I think you gotta keep your phone on mute for some reason. I don't know what's going on.
It's telling me my mic is muted. I don't know what's going on.
okay. Now they're showing mute.
Yeah. Now it's off.
I don't know what's going on.
Yeah. I'll try to make the point quickly. But what I was saying is they brought in one day, they used to bring in Black people who were successful in businesses and whatnot to let us see, because I'm talking before there was integration, when things were segregated. So they bring in professionals for us to talk to and introduce themselves, whether they be teachers, professors. They brought in one day this doctor, and for some reason, he said something that got my attention. It was so important to me that I never forgot it. But what he was saying, and I can't remember where he went to school, but I took it that what I remember from it was his whole educational background was at an all-Black schools. So he went from one Black school to the next, all the way up through medical school. And he graduates from medical school, and now he's thrusted into his profession, and he's having some apprehension. And he's wondering, do I measure up? Did I learn all the right things? Who am I? What am I doing here? And he talked about, he happened one day on a multiple car accident. And he jumped out of the car with just his little bag that he had, and he went to work. And he went to work from one person to another, doing what he could do before the ambulance got, and even after the ambulances got there, he's still doing his thing. And in the midst of this, it hits him. I'm a doctor. I'm a doctor, and I'm doing doctor things. And although I practiced this, I was apprehensive about it, but now I'm not in the lab. And this is real, and I'm saving people's lives. And I bring that up as an example of us. Suppose that the last few years and us being isolated on this phone was us being prepared for this, and the accident that takes place so that you can recognize who you are and operate in who you are is the very things that we've been talking about for these many years. What if all these, we never think that all of this stuff, whether it be the good, the bad, the ugly, is orchestrated by the Creator. We always put a face to it, and the face is usually the Caucasian, and rightfully so. I see what we're doing and why, but at the same time, it is allowed by the Creator. So because all this stuff is allowed by the Creator, and I say that ye are Elohim, look at how related we are to what we're doing and what we're facing. So don't ever think that any of this is too big for you. It is all prepared for us. And if it was not for this stuff that is prepared for us, if it's not for the accident, you do not feel like you're the doctor. No matter how much you studied, no matter how much you prepared yourself, something has to take place so that you can start healing life. And that is where we are. All of this stuff is happening so that we can be healers. And it is all orchestrated by the Creator. So when we look at things now, we take ownership of it. We take ownership of it because no one else can, no one else will, no one else has the sensitivity for it. No one else has the spiritual insight for it. There are no other interpreters coming. There is no one else that's going to bring light to this. You are the human that has stepped in the gap to be enlightenment. And all of this stuff that has happened for such a time as this. So here we are. It belongs to us. And as we continue to study and open things up, we're not opening up knowledge, we're opening up ourselves. We're showing ourselves who we are, and we are embracing the strengths that we are. So at the onset, I said, you know what? I had apprehension. I had, and those words upset me too briefly before they would have torn me up. But now I see them as a catalyst. I see them as a spark to ignite the flame in me, to unite with every one of us on this phone to do and be who we are. We are unity. We are one. And when you feel that oneness inside of you, it is ignited in all of us. So let our meditations continue. Let us recognize this and understand the necessity of it and not be overwhelmed by anything. And as Nick said, there's going to be a lot of stuff happening in the next coming year. There's going to be a lot of stuff happening. But you know what? None of it is new to the land. This earth has been chaotic for so long. But now it is hopefully being received by a different ear. The ear is not on the outside. The ear is on the inside. And I hope that all of this makes sense. And any thoughts or questions? Okay. I will say this. I just want to. Pastor has some more material because we were talking about the statement he made about Jesus and how that sparked a discussion that he wants to go into that further and discuss it. So I don't know if he'll be here tomorrow. Excuse me. I thought he would have come today, but I'm sure that something grabbed his attention and he couldn't make it, which is understandable. But you guys, we'll stay tuned for that whenever it comes up. I think what he has is a real eye opener. But there is we're in a beautiful place. And as we unravel this and as we see the clarity of man, we see who we are. And this is all necessary so that truth will prevail. So stay steadfast and let's keep moving. That's all I have unless you guys have a question or a comment. Anybody?
Can you hear me, Ron?
Yes, sir.
Richard, I've been moving physically around the house and changing the position of the computer. So maybe anyway.
Yeah.
I get what I get. I got on 10 minutes into,
Okay.
I think a little bit late, and I heard the tail end of what you were repeating that was a recording. But
yeah.
Is there any way you can pass along the source? I don't know if it's only audio or there was a video attached to it or what it is.
Richard, as I was saying to Audrey, I apologize for that. I was when I heard it, I wanted to share it with you, and I did not. Pastor sent it to me, I think Wednesday, and I did not think to ask him because it's just part of a speech, and I didn't get the man's name or when the speech was done or the intent of it, and I apologize for that. That's poor planning, and I messed that up.
That's the circumstance.
But I was so, his words kind of shocked me so that I wanted to talk about it. So that's next time we're together, I'm going to get with him and see if I can trace that down. That's a very good question. It didn't even cross my mind till you guys asked that I did not have that information. Usually it's written on here something, this is from this date or whatever, but I don't have any of that. So
Yeah,
Good
just
question. I just don't have an answer.
for a second, I thought it was Elon Musk, but no,
No, it's not Elon Musk.
no, it's past his capacity. No,
Uh,
closest he is to, anyway.
so hopefully tomorrow I'll have something more to share with you on this. Hold on.
Oh, let me say, this
Uh-huh.
is from a week or so ago already, but when we were talking about the clips, I was mistaken. Yeah, the sun is 400 times bigger than the Earth, which I did not know, which I foolishly assumed was incorrect before I looked it up. So I apologize.
No problem. No problem at all. Thank you. Thank you for the correction. Thank you. As I said, I'll try to find some more information on this. I hope the rest of it made sense to you though. And if there are not any questions or comments, anything else, I'll see you tomorrow morning. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Y'all have a
Thank
good
you,
day.
everyone.
Bye-bye.
See y'all everyone.